Hello, everyone. Philip Lee returning with another episode of Civil War Chat. Today is February 25th. It's a Friday, 2022. And click on the subscribe button here in the lower right if you'd like to subscribe, and also the notification bell in the far upper right if you'd like to be notified when new episodes are released. Today's topic is Robert E. Lee and critical race theory. Now, yesterday's post explained that critical race theory and a respectful assessment of Southern and Confederate heritage are incompatible ideas. Even though their letters and diaries in the tens of thousands show that Confederate soldiers went to war because their homeland was invaded, the unchallenged dogma of CRT will require the annihilation of all symbols and memorials relating to the Confederacy. And when I say unchallenged, I mean that, if they just go and get to implement their beliefs in schools and in American society without anyone challenging them. Okay. Now, beyond that, it will likely result in the banning of memorials to any historical figure who was a slaveholder. And of course, that puts, that focuses on the South. More general aspects of Southern heritage will suffer, like the baby that gets thrown out with a bathwater. Admirers of Robert E. Lee should especially take note and awaken to the realization that he will not be exempted. A narrative that hopes to save him from CRT, or critical race theory, condemnation because of his postbellum leadership in reuniting our country will fail. Now, if you challenge CRT, it may succeed, but if you don't, if CRT takes over, any effort to save Robert E. Lee's reputation will fail, whether you focus on his postbellum activities or not. Now, as explained in my new book, The Dreadful Frauds, Critical Race Theory and Identity Politics, the aim of such advocates is to transform American society from a meritocracy to one centered on quotas, arbitrarily based on skin color, ethnicity, and gender. Their first step is to rewrite American history. CRT interprets it as a result of a perpetual conflict between groups of oppressors and victims. The so-called 1619 Project from the New York Times is a prime example. It even dates America's founding to the arrival of the first African slaves on Virginia's shores in 1619. Instead of the previously accepted date of 1776, when representatives of all 13 colonies signed the Declaration of Independence. And an earlier example of the oppressor-victim narrative are the works of historian Howard Zinn, especially his 1980 People's History of the United States. Even 42 years after it was published, it annually remains one of the most popular American history books in terms of sales. The deceased author's website has been transformed by successors into a continuing education platform for teachers to learn more recent propaganda along the themes that Zinn taught when he was living. While critical race theory can be a legitimate study for college students in a setting that permits open debate and includes critical analysis of CRT itself, that's not what is happening. Often K through 12 teachers are lectured about CRT in continuing education classes and then taught how to teach its remedies to their students. Not critical race theory per se, but its remedies, and such remedies are poisonous. White boys are taught that they are endemically racist and privileged, whether they realize it or not. They are demonized. They are defined as racist because of their skin color. Even if their behavior is undeniably not racist, they can have 2 or 3 of their best friends, or even their very best friends, be Black, and they're still racist. Similarly, Black children are taught that they are victims. that they are powerless to advance in American society without so-called anti-racist policies, such as affirmative action. Such teachings demonize the so-called oppressors and eradicate any incentive among the so-called victims to learn personal responsibility. And anybody that doesn't learn that, if a whole imagine a whole nation of people like that, well, you can kind of see it. Like, let's look right now. One of the obvious penalties for America's focus on this CRT and identity politics madness is that our leaders have taken their eyes off far, far more important matters. Such distractions as CRT and identity politics caused the Afghanistan debacle because they were distractions. And our weakness in the present Russian aggression in Ukraine is also a result of this obsession with nonsense concerning identity politics and critical race theory. If America is to meet its future challenges, it must return to being a meritocracy, or something much more close to a meritocracy. The distractions of critical race theory and identity politics must be purged. Americans will correctly ask why they should care about Ukraine's borders when our own CRT and identity victimhood obsessed leaders don't protect our own border with Mexico. Get a copy of The Dreadful Frauds if you want to understand how Southern heritage will be eradicated unless CRT and identity politics is successfully combated. So I'll show you a picture of the book. Here it is. The Dreadful Frauds, Critical Race Theory and Identity Politics. You can get it right now. It's at Amazon. It'll probably go up at Barnes & Noble soon, but it's at Amazon now, $16 in paperback. I think it's like $5, let's call it $5 for Kindle. If you want to get a signed copy, contact me, and for $19, I will send you if you live here in the States, I'll send you an autographed copy of The Dreadful Frauds. But this book, just to summarize, this book is really important for those of you that want to understand how critical race theory will specifically impact Southern tradition. I also talk about how it's going to affect the United States and Western civilization, but the focus here is from the point of view of a Southerner who values the Southern tradition and honors and respects it. So if that's what you're looking for, or that's something you want to consider looking at, get The Dreadful Frauds by Philip Lee. Okay, that's our show for today, and thanks for watching.